Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 29 of the Braindrizzle podcast. This week we have another Hostful Plus episode with John. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
You keep breaking into our house, so you gotta work off those Hostess cakes you ate. Don't you know there aren't very many left?
Yeah, they stopped making them, didn't they?
No, I think that they're back in business.
Oh. Well, then I didn't need to steal them from you, did I?
Well, you know.
Jackass.
But I want to make an announcement that next week, super excited. Last week we talked about that brain-to-brain interface, and next week we should be interviewing one of the researchers involved in that project. Actually, the guy who was controlled.
Jealous?
Did they only control one guy, or?
Well, in the experiment we talked about, yeah.
Okay, cool. So he can tell us what it's like, first-hand account?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
And actually, my first story kind of ties into that.
Mm-hmm.
So remember last week when, let's say, I was joking about becoming a supervillain?
Go on.
So I thought my power would be have a brain interface and then control animals to do my bidding.
Yes.
So some researchers over at Auburn University in Alabama have made a remote-controlled dog with really just a vest that can produce vibration and tones, and you can really train the dog to respond to those like a human trainer.
So not quite a iPod. So not quite an iPhone app for skinwalking, but
Actually, they do have plans of making it controllable from a phone.
I have to admit,
Alright.
I'm kind of glad. I have to admit, I'm kind of glad they aren't using this to control the dog's brain, because that just seems heartbreaking. It's controlling monkeys, controlling people. That's one thing, but a puppy? Come on, what'd they do to hurt you? It's.
So basically the idea is that for rescue, drug search, bomb search, like a human commander could like remotely direct a dog and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
So I'm thinking actually I've decided to switch to being a hero after watching Kick-Ass 2. Great movie. So basically instead of having direct a link, I would just use my brain to control like the vest.
well, that's a step up.
Yeah.
You're still edging dangerously close to skinwalker territory, though.
Yeah, well, you know. It's
giving me the
an
creeps.
occupational hazard.
Which of.
Becoming a skinwalker should not be an occupational hazard.
Well, you know, it is.
You're clearly in the wrong occupation if it's not.
Exactly.
Y'all are giving me the giblies.
That's why you study to be a scientist. If you don't freak out your friends and family, then what's the point?
If there's no chance of becoming some sort of superpowered being, why are you in science?
Hell, I watched The Watchmen, and that's why I wanted to become a physicist. Giant blue guy who blows up tanks. Awesome!
And has an exposed dong, just whatever.
Hey, who's gonna stop him?
Exactly. I mean, it's there, but there's also, like, blue lightning and shit, so, you know.
Dr. Manhattan, I need to get up onto that ledge. Grab hold.
Oh god, that is a weird mental image.
But it's there.
And it won't ever go away.
When you blink, it'll be there.
Yeah, forever in your heart. Dang a tire swing off of that shit.
Why are you making it worse?
That's what you get.
And you're worried that we're creeping you out? God damn.
Revenge.
Like, getting serious for like a millisecond. Apparently, like, the tones and vibration that the vest can produce are pretty much as accurate in terms of training the dog as a human.
But don't dogs often rely on visual cues as well?
Apparently not.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's cool. And my second story, I'm gonna breeze past it because let's all try and erase the image of TARDIS McDonald. So there's some research. Purdue and Virginia Tech teamed up and created a cellulose derivative that helps medicines be absorbed in the body more.
Okay.
So basically, there are already polymers that prevent the formation of crystals, like in the digestion system. Basically, once a crystal starts forming, that's it. It's done. But this new polymer prevents the starting and slows it down if it does start.
What crystals?
Ooh, good.
Like the active substance in medicine
Okay.
can crystallize.
And then you can't absorb it.
Yeah. That's
If you eat with your medicine, does it help that happen less?
probably not.
Man.
Maybe, I don't know. They didn't talk about that. But apparently, this polymer that they're developing is like just the best in terms of preventing crystallization.
Woohoo!
So as the oral medication would become way more effective.
Cool. Okay, is that why it's less effective? Because it doesn't have a chance to get into the blood? Or?
Yeah. So that's all I got, Jack.
Okay. Alright, so, hold up, I gotta scroll up. Okay, so what scientists can see in your urine?
I'm guessing it's yellow.
Sometimes.
Hopefully.
Okay, University of Alberta.
Yay, Canada!
They have determined the chemical composition of human urine. Okay, so you can say yay to that if you want. But yeah, it took them 7 years and almost 20 people so they could figure out exactly what's in the urine. They took urine from a lot of people.
That must have been awkward at dinner parties. Like, oh, I am an engineer. What do you do? I study urine all day.
All day, every day. But yeah, apparently there's over 3,000 chemicals, or metabolites. And standard medical tests only test for 7.
That's a lot fewer than 3,000.
Yep. Not counting drug tests, mind you.
But yeah.
But yeah, it's really complex stuff. Basically, they can find out what drugs you're... Now, with these new tests, with the new tests that will come from this, they'll be able to find out what drugs you're taking, things about your diet, and also, like, things about your environment, like what kind of chemicals you're being exposed to.
Why don't they just find out really personal things, like, randomly? Like, I just think that would be funny.
You know, they probably could.
Right.
But yeah, but they also used like a computer-based data mining technique to look through like over 100 years of published scientific literature about urine, and they've made a urine metabolome database, a UMDB. That you can use to search about all the chemicals in your urine.
I'm sure that'll be frequented by, like, maybe 10 people. Also, I'd like to think... Sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to think, for scientific consistency, that all this urine for 7 years was from one person. I just find that a funny thought.
I think that data would be completely useless.
Probably, but it would be hilarious.
Actually, they got urine from a lot of people.
Damn.
And new chemicals, new metabolites are being added to the list, to the database every day.
Are there urine types, like blood types? Because that would be hilarious.
What?
It doesn't say.
Damn.
I mean, you can.
But yeah,
you can do a genetic testing off urine, so you can find out. Like, I've heard of crimes that have been solved because someone didn't flush the toilet, and there's enough DNA in there to get...
Well, there's stray cells in the urine.
Yeah, so in that sense, sure, I guess it has a blood type.
I
But
guess.
let's take a moment to stop.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's take a moment to stop and reflect on how far science has come on understanding human urine.
So is that like a moment of silence?
The analysis of urine analysis is something we've been doing for over 3,000 years to try to find out what's wrong with Jim Bob. And up until the late 1800s, urine analysis using color, taste, and smell, called basically what they used to call uroscopy. That's how they would diagnose you with stuff. They would literally taste your urine.
I think this is now on my top 10 list of worst jobs ever.
Imagine if there was like a wine guy, like that was his thing. And there was like a whole medical team at a hospital, and you're just the urine tasting guy.
This one has a lovely bouquet.
Asparagus.
And diabetes.
Like swirling it around like wine.
Oh, God.
Dude.
and a special cup with like a lip to basically make it so that urine doesn't get in the mustache.
So you're saying like a champagne flute type thing?
I think we all agree that the guy who tasted pee for a living would have a mustache.
Well, especially since it was the 1800s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is a thing.
And now, so let's go over the imagery we've had in the episode so far. Giant blue tire swing dong and a mustachioed man drinking just so much urine.
Drinking other people's urine in a clinical setting. And describing its taste and bouquet.
Let's move on before just terrible things happen.
Because I don't think that we could ever muster up as much dignity as the uroscopist.
Yeah.
Of yesteryear.
But imagine if there was this like a movie that took place in like that time period, and that was just a character. That would be so weird.
That would be.
Okay, let's move on.
Would he be the villain though?
No, I think he would be like the sidekick, you know?
Or he'd just be like
a
funny side character that appears about like 4 or 5 times in the film.
What if he was like a Sherlock of urine?
Wouldn't that be the Watson, since Watson's the doctor?
Exactly, yeah. So like, imagine if Watson like tasted pee.
Oh god, so Sherlock has to go solve the mysteries while Watson has to drink urine. That's about around that same time period, so I bet Watson probably did drink a fair share of urine.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Dun 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 dun.
Wow. That I'm pretty tone deaf, but that was...
Oh, good times.
Alright, gentleman. It's your turn.
Okay, so I was going through the archive.
Oh, sorry, wait. Well, sorry, 1 second. Jack, you didn't do the other story.
Oh my god, I totally forgot my other story. Okay. This is a special story that I picked especially for all you atheists listeners. Religious leaders can be key to preserving biological diversity.
Does that mean they should have like a lot of parasites?
No.
Yeah.
Basically, they are actually in a position to be a moral authority to a lot of fucking people. So they can tell their followers that the ethical thing to do is to preserve the creator's creation, or the world in the case of the Buddhists.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Aren't creationists. Yeah. But no, seriously, think about like South America. Think about how many Roman Catholics are down there, and think about the rainforest.
Yeah.
And also, keep in mind that our current Pope is Pope Francis, named for the Saint Francis of Assisi. And that guy is the patron saint of ecology.
Oh.
So, there is hope yet.
Well, I'd be curious how that squares with cases like, I know in the States, from what I've heard, that global warming denial groups tend to be quite coupled with the Christian right, because part of it is, well, God created our world, there's no way God's going to destroy it, so global warming's not real.
Yeah,
so it can go both ways, it seems.
Yeah, no, that is really common, it seems, in North America. But that reminds me of the Louis C.K. bit where he's talking about he didn't understand why all the anti-climate change people were really religious. He's like, because if you believe that God created the earth for you, why wouldn't you take care of it? Because he's going to come back and he's going to be like, what the fuck did you do? Why are the polar bears brown? Did you shit on the polar bears?
Yeah, I always have a little bit of a worry when you try coupling something like, say, a scientific issue like global warming or the importance of biodiversity and a religious authority, because it might work, and it might be that's the important thing, but it seems it can easily go sort of backfire and go the other way.
Well, the thing is, think about the religious fundamentalists who are climate change deniers. Think about how many of those there are. And think about how many fucking Catholics there are.
Depends which country, I guess.
Yeah. And, I mean, honestly, the global warming denial thing, it sucks, and it's stupid, and the main people who are spearheading it have a lot of power and are able to generate a lot of media and huge amounts of propaganda to try to convince other people. I mean, this is a mass initiative perpetrated by businessmen who do these kinds of things for a living. It's the same people who worked for the cigarette companies to try to hide the dangers of secondhand smoke that is actually doing the climate change shit right now. The climate change denial shit. The climate change, controversy and fiasco is entirely manufactured.
Yeah.
So it's not something that organically went in this direction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean,
however, ecology might actually fit more organically with Christianity than the climate change denial shit does.
Yeah, I can see that from how the Old Testament's worded. Yeah.
So, I mean, basically the only way we'd know one way or the other is to wait and see. But we got to keep in mind that the climate change deniers who are super religious, that might actually be its own situation that has many, many different factors and not an example of what the norm is.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, what do I know, right? I just know that I read this thing and I know that what I've heard, and I don't know enough to be able to determine one way or the other. So I remain hopeful.
Me too.
Any ally is good in the fight to try and preserve our environment.
Yeah, seriously. No, really. Slapping any hand that's gonna feed us right now.
But also, if for some reason we try and get the religious people on the side of GM crops, don't put me in charge of that project.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it. I don't think I'll ever be in a position to put anyone in charge of anything.
Well,
Think of who you're talking to.
I'm saying, in general, into the world, don't put me on that. Okay.
You heard it here first. Something that you should not have this man do.
It's gonna be like on my resume. Don't have me do this.
Don't put me in charge of anything even close to this.
Yeah.
But our company's but we're a science magazine. Just don't do it. All right. Gentlemen?
Okay, so I was going through the archive this week, which is basically if you're a physicist and you want to post a paper, you'll often put a preprint, sort of a draft, on an archive server. So everyone in the world can read it, even though if you don't have like a membership to a magazine. And on this week, there was a paper about TARDISes. So the title was Average Expansion Rate and Light Propagation in a Cosmological TARDIS Spacetime. So, obviously, this paper shows that a lot of physicists are fans of Doctor Who, but also it's kind of entertaining how they dealt with areas of spacetime that are bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. And what they were trying to do, it seems, is trying to find a way to account for the fact that the rate of expansion of the universe is speeding up, which most physicists believe comes from dark energy. But what these guys seem to be looking at is that, well, what if it's not dark energy? What if you've got these just chunks of space that are expanding at a faster rate? That would make it look like the entire universe is expanding faster and faster, when in reality it isn't. And so they called these regions of space-time that are expanding at a faster and faster rate TARDISes. So it's an actual scientific term.
Now, for TARDIS, did they come up with a new acronym?
No, I think that's purposely not an acronym. It's TARDIS, because time and relative dimension in space doesn't really make sense in the context of this paper.
Well, I was saying, did they come up with a new acronym that fits?
No, I think they just called it a TARDIS region.
Okay.
They did
I
not.
was like, fuck it, we're just gonna call it.
We're not gonna hide the fact that we're extremely nerdy. We're not gonna hide behind any walls here. We're Doctor Who fans. We wrote an interesting paper on space-time. Let's put the two together and have some fun.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, we did a bunch of we had to do a bunch of fucking physics and write a paper about it. And you want a new acronym? Shove it.
Yeah, I'm always suspicious when you have these really complicated acronyms for things like Ice Cube and CREST, and it's like you very clearly wanted your acronym to spell something out, and I have to wonder how long they had to figure that out.
I know, like I want there to be a person on each team that's like just in charge of acronyms. Like, make it work, damn it.
It's kind of like I don't know if you've seen the trailer for S.H.I.E.L.D., but so what does that acronym tell you? It tells me that you really wanted the name of your company to spell out S.H.I.E.L.D. It's
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much traction the model is going to get, like this sort of cosmological model, because it's basically they've introduced a really weird type of space to explain this experimental result. But it's always interesting to see people come at physics from a different angle, because pretty much everyone's sort of on the side that, well, the universe is expanding faster and faster and faster because of dark energy, and that's the dominant hypothesis at the moment. But this is something completely different, completely out there. It might and well, just from historical reasons, probably will be wrong. But it's always nice to see that the physicists, they aren't just sort of going one direction and saying, "Oh, everyone, put all your eggs in this basket. It's this theory or nothing."
Yeah.
So it's, even though it's kind of a funny paper. It's funny that they called this thing a TARDIS. It's an interesting new model of a new way of describing how the universe could look like it's expanding faster and faster. But it's something new, and that's very important to keep looking at in science.
I agree. I'm just saying, if another physics paper comes out that's trying to explain the expansion of the universe with the Force, I'm going to have a stern talking to physics.
I think I'd be right there with you. It's if it were something like the spiritual force, and then you wouldn't be taken seriously. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, the one thing about archive papers is that they don't have to be peer reviewed. So this paper probably hasn't had a chance to be peer reviewed yet, but it probably will be eventually. So.
Assuming these guys don't just get booted straight out a window.
No, most physicists have some sense of humor. And if it's good research, who cares what it's called, or who cares what's the name of the space-time thing is called? But
well, that's cool.
Good for them.
What else you got, John?
Yeah, what else you got?
Oh, I only had time to get one this week. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. And it had this incomprehensible title, the way that paper titles always are, that literally had a made-up word in it.
Yep. But all the other words were real, like average, expansion, Great.
Light. I'm not sure if that's a good point, but all the other words were real.
And they make
you
sense
shouldn't
in
say that.
They make sense in that order, so...
It's like this paragraph in your thesis is complete gibberish, yeah, but all the other paragraphs are real.
But yeah, you aren't a real physicist unless you've made up a couple of words in your career.
Probably.
So that's what you have to do to get into that physicist club. I don't want to come to your party anyway.
Yeah, but if you do it sloppily, then you'll get laughed out. It's like if you try too hard with fashion, they can tell.
God, you guys are snobs. Bunch of fashionistas.
Oh, your made-up term didn't catch on. Well, you're not welcome drinking with us.
We'll start our own physicist club with Blackjack and hookers.
And hookers.
In fact, screw the physics.
Oh, I'm so glad you continued the reference. That made my day.
Yes. Yes.